Hey guys, welcome back. In the last lecture, we added Devise gem into our course project for existing user model and made some changes into the user model and table. In this lecture, we will do a very basic change into the user model spec, but this is very important to do. Let me tell you why. Whenever you make changes into your app, no matter at models, controllers, views, helpers, or and so on, you must make sure to update the test coverage as well. This becomes even more important when you are working on an application where writing test or specs is mandatory. Now let's discuss why we need this into our app. So open the user model spec, and here you can see that we added some basic test coverage for testing where a user is valid or not. So here open the models in the specs, and here just open the user specs, and in the user specs you can see that we have some validations like we are building a user and we are checking that whether this user is valid or not, and at the line number 13 you can see that user is valid or not, and here we are creating calling the user create, and this is spec do not have any effect here. Why? Because we are just building the user, and while building the user we can skip the validations, and we will not get any validation error because the object is not saved into the database. Okay, and here you can see that in the line number 24 context, when deleting a user we are again creating a user, so we will get a validation error. And all these specs working fine until we added the device gem. But now if you run all these specs, you will see that all the specs testing the validity of user model are getting failed. Why? Because device always come with its own validatable module. Here you can see in the user model that device has this validatable module. It means that whenever you create a device resource into the database, or whenever you save device resource into the database, you cannot leave the email and password fields blank. Okay, and here in the user spec you can see that we never used password, and even inside the users factory we are not using the password. So whenever you try to check the validity of a user without password, you will see that your specs get failed, and because user is not valid. Let's try running all user specs to understand it in practical sense. Okay, so switch to the terminal, and here what you need to run r spec, then spec models, user spec. Okay, and when you run your specs now, you will see that all specs will get failed where you are checking the user's validity or whether the user is valid or not. So here you can see at the first spec, when creating a user it should be a valid user with all attributes. So what we are expected here, true, but we are getting false. So just switch to the user spec, and here you can see that at the line number 9 the spec is expecting that user must be valid, but user is not valid. Why? Because we are building a user without password, or we are initializing a user without password. And now if you come below, you can see that record invalid, validation failed, password can't be blank. Why? Because user is not valid, because we did not provided the password for that user. And same in the line number 3 as well. But you can see that one of our spec is get passed, that is at line number 17. Here you can see that should raise invalid record exception for duplicate email and contact. And why we are getting this spec passed? Because we are raising the active record invalid error here. Okay, that's why this spec is getting passed and all other specs are getting failed. So now what we need to do to get all these specs passed, we just need to do a very simple and tiny change into the users factory. So open the users factory, and here you can see that we are initializing the user model with name, email, contact number, country, state, and city attributes. We just need to provide the password here, and let's say we can provide the password from any dummy value or any random string, or just use the password that we provided into the seed file. So what we can use here, password at the rate 123. Okay, and now you can see that we added the password here. So whenever you initialize or create a new user using this factory, you will get the password's value. So the password will be saved as password at the rate 123. And now if you switch to the terminal and you run your user specs again, you will see that all specs getting passed now. Okay, why? Because this time whenever your spec getting run, it is getting the value of the user's password, and it becomes a valid user, and it will not throw any validation error. And you need to notice one thing here, that this is a very simple change, but you must make sure to update your specs as well whenever you make any changes in the code base. However, sometimes it is okay to skip the update into specs, but you must make sure to run all or relevant tests after making any changes into the feature of your application. This thing will be considered as the best practice while developing any feature. Now there is one more little change that we need to do. So switch to the project directory again and open the seed file. Okay, and here you can see that in the seeds file, when we are creating this 100 users, we are not using the password as well. So if you run this spec now, all your if you run the seed file now, then all your user will get rollback. Why? Because we do not provide any password here. So let's provide the value of password as password at the rate 123 here. Just copy this and paste it here and save this. Now whenever you run your seed file again, you will see that all users getting created with this password value. Okay, I hope this short lecture is helpful, and I would like to try this at your end. Thanks for watching this, and we will meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.